Hello, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name's Maddie and I'm going to take you to one of my favorite places here, the Linnaeus Teaching Garden. It's so pretty, it's one of my favorite places, and I thought I would bring you along and do like a small urban sketch for you guys. So let's get started. So I did find out they renamed the garden just the Teaching Garden because Linnaeus was a racist. And also I came on a Sunday and it was closed. So instead, I sat in front of the butterfly garden here. It's right outside of the Teaching Garden. I'm gonna paint this scene here and this brown awning with some pretty plants and flowers on it. I just really want to capture a very loose essence of this scene. So I'd like to do kind of a walkthrough of the whole area kind of before I get started, and then I will just get started painting. Lately I've been carrying around these little bits of paper that I've kind of cut out myself, since one, my sketchbook is full, and two, I kind of like the thicker paper a little bit. This is Arch's cold pressed 300-pound weight. And I use micron pens, which are archival and waterproof, so I'll go over in pen first before I start watercoloring. And with this, I started out and it was a bit off center and I didn't like it, so I just flipped it over and started again, because I like to work just directly in pen, and you can see I kind of work a little bit lighter, and then as I get a little more confident, I'll darken the lines. But I just don't like working in pencil initially, especially just doing, a rough kind of sketch like this. It just makes it more fun to work in pen, and I'm not so concerned with the mistakes. I'm just putting down the lines and being like, okay, I'm just gonna leave it like this. And you can see already some of my little mistakes and not perfectly straight lines, but I think that adds some character to the piece, and I don't know, I find it easier. It helps me deal with a little bit of the perfectionism that comes with painting and drawing, especially if you're just starting out. A lot of the hurdles is, oh, this doesn't look good and I just want to erase it and start all over. But if you just work in pen, you can't erase it and you just have to kind of let it be there. I also find it helpful just because if I, make mistakes and then I'll just have to leave it, but I still feel like I learned something and I'll just learn it for the next piece that I do. It's just good to not be so precious, especially starting out, about your work and how perfect and good it looks. You just want to create and create as much as you can, and that's how you kind of improve and get better. So I was just gonna do this scene initially. Oh, and there's the bee that almost stung me. I was initially gonna do this scene without any people, but there were some people that walked through this little garden while I was working, so I decided to include them. And now I'm gonna just flesh out some of the background details here. Just add a little more texture and scribbles of the plants and the awnings. So here is the final pen drawing, and now I'm going to get started on watercolor using my Go Draw watercolor palette. And these are all Daniel Smith watercolors that I've put in, and I have specific colors that I really like. I have a video on all of the colors in my color palette if you wanted to check out that video, but these are the main colors that I use. So I like Hansa Yellow Medium, Naples Yellow, Ultramarine Blue, Phthalo Blue, and Indigo, Cobalt Blue, Manganese Blue, lots of different blues, yellows, and reds. All the primary colors are really good to have lots of varieties of cool reds and warm reds and cool blues and warm blues, so you can kind of mix a lot of varieties of color. And that's the thing that I like to do most. I really like to mix lots of different varieties of colors, especially greens. I like to do lots and lots of variations on greens. So you can see I'm just kind of putting down first, like the base layer is what I always call it for watercolor, because I like to do lots of layering. And it's helpful to just kind of get something down and make sure it's light, go from light to dark rather than dark to light, because you can always make watercolor more saturated and darker, add more contrast, but you can't take it away because you can't paint over watercolor. So you have to kind of think more strategically about the color placement, how much contrast you use, because if you don't plan it right, it can be hard to fix. And that's one of the challenging things about working with watercolor, but also one of the most fun and rewarding things. So you can see I'm using several different kinds of greens already. I have more of like a yellow green and then more of a bluish green on this awning on the right. And then I'm adding more of a maybe like sap green or true green in the middle as the background. I like to add lots of browns as well. It gives it a little bit more of a natural look. But here I'm finally painting the brown awning that I showed you earlier. And sorry, my hair got a little bit in the way in these shots, but that's life. That's life, baby. So, and here I'm going and adding the more square patterning there. And I really like kind of the looser look of these. I've been doing a lot more of these smaller drawings, and just not being so rigid in the way that I paint, and making sure that I'm having fun with it, and that it's more of like it's always just about practice and not creating the most beautiful, stunning thing. It's like I like the beauty and the uniqueness of your own kind of style. So, and I've, kind of developed my own style, but it comes naturally. I feel like everyone has their own unique style, even if you don't think that you do. You end up, no matter what, almost painting a certain way, which is kind of fun, and everyone gets to be more unique. So I'm going back and adding some dots of these flowers. They're all different colors, purples, reds, yellows. Here I like to add the final layer, which is the shadows, which is this purple color. I like to paint them like they're sunset kind of colors, so they're like a little more blue. And I, grew up in New Mexico, and the shadows look like this in New Mexico, so I always say that I feel like wherever I go, I paint like I'm in New Mexico still. I like to think that I kind of bring it with me everywhere I go. And I'm just going in and adding the final little details and more texture. And here is the final painting. It's just such a beautiful scene. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you guys enjoyed.